Today, the platform fighter genre is more popular than ever. And for over 30 years, the genre has been dominated by the same franchise that breathed life into it: Super Smash Bros. The series has become synonymous with not only Nintendo, but the platform fighting genre in general. For casual gamers, Smash is probably the only known platform fighter to exist, sitting in the same pantheon as traditional fighters such as Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat in terms of reputation. Probably even above that pantheon, given that Smash Ultimate has now sold almost 29 million copies, making it the best-selling fighting game of all time. Upon release, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate has received almost unanimous praise from both critics and fans, being nominated for and winning multiple awards as a result, including 2019 Fighting Game of the Year from the Game Awards. Yet until recently, the platform fighter genre seemed to be monopolized by the Smash franchise. This seemed to be unique to platform fighters, as other genres like first-person shooters, battle royales, party games, arcade games, and even 2D fighters all have multiple popular mainstream franchises. Usually, one game of the genre picks up steam and one or more others follow suit, but put their own spin on the type of game to successfully stay relevant. But platform fighters have struggled to do this, as we've seen multiple other franchises fall to the wayside. Until now. 2022 presented a different type of energy, and I feel it marked the year that two young franchises officially marked their territory and set the stage for a potentially competitive run against Smash and the platform fighter genre. The frontrunner in most people's minds is probably Multiversus, the platform fighter released by Player First Games in June of 2022. The marketing for this game was immaculate, as it was hyped through trailers and ads across both YouTube and Twitch. There were even drops for Twitch that allowed people to get early access to the game before the open beta went live. Probably the most notable part of Smash's identity is its crossovers between multiple video game franchises. Pokemon, Zelda, Star Fox, Sonic, Metal Gear, and Final Fantasy are all there to polish Mario's boots. Contribute to a chaotic environment where here and only here, all your favorite video game characters can brawl, or more preferably melee, wink wink, in one place. Fortunately, WB has more than enough iconic characters within their IP to match the aura of Smash, which definitely helped with the game's marketing. Characters from Scooby-Doo, Looney Tunes, Game of Thrones, Steven Universe, Adventure Time, and even the almighty DC Comics were included in the game. They even took advantage of a popular meme and gave Shaggy the power of a warrior race, the likes of which hasn't been seen for thousands of years. Hell, they even added LeBron James to the game via Space Jam. But with the recent failure of Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl, the potential success of Multiversus was looking reasonably questionable. But the hype and tension in the air was extremely palpable. That hype was lived up to, as Multiversus came swinging out the gate, immediately topping US and Australian sales charts, temporarily overcoming the indomitable Elden Ring, and becoming the most downloaded free-to-play game in the US and Canada from the PlayStation Store, second place in the EU. MV hosted the largest release of any fighting game on Steam and was the most popular game for the Steam Deck. At release, Multiversus was a commercial success, but as it fell to number 5 on the US charts the next month, the longevity of the game was in question. Would Multiversus stand the test of time? While gamers would have to wait to see, by the time of Multiversus' release, there was already another game that had done so for 8 years. Brawlhalla's success story was the opposite of that of Multiversus and Smash. While both games were practically overnight successes, Brawlhalla's prominence came at the back of an elongated grind. First released on PC in 2014, going into open beta the next year under a small indie studio called Blue Mammoth Games, Brawlhalla had none of the clout or marketing advantages of Smash Bros, Multiversus, or any of the plethora of IPs in those games. The game started out with 11 original characters, and the gameplay was similar to classic Smash, but with less items, a loadout of 2 weapons for each character, and greater mobility due to triple jumping and wall clinging. The game had little fanfare at release, but gradually over time, that would change, along with the game itself. Brawlhalla was released on PlayStation 4 in 2017 as a free-to-play game. Then, in 2018, Blue Mammoth Games was bought by well-known publisher Ubisoft, and as a result, Rayman was released as a new character later that year, while Glowbox and Barbara were added as crossover skins for existing characters, a trend that would stick for all future crossover characters except for Ezio, which makes him and Rayman the only 2 guest characters in the game. A slew of crossover characters, maps, and game types from famous franchises would follow over the years, from Hellboy, Cartoon Network shows such as Ben 10, Adventure Time, and Steven Universe, to Avatar: The Last Airbender, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and my personal favorite, the WWE. That's right, folks. You can play as the most destructive force in the history of WWE, the most recent inductee into the WWE Hall of Fame, the greatest performer in the history of WrestleMania, the Last Outlaw, the Phenom, the Dead Man, the Undertaker. Or you can play the game as your tribal chief, the head of the table, and the current reigning and defending undisputed WWE Universal Heavyweight Champion, Roman Reigns. And by the way, if you do not acknowledge Roman Reigns as your tribal chief and the head of the table, you can click off of this channel right now. That's about as bad as disrespecting Halo 3 or something. We not having none of that over this way. Okay, I'm joking. Don't leave the video. As a matter of fact, feel free to hit the like, subscribe, and notification buttons for me. That would help out a lot, and I'd highly appreciate that. But back to the subject, Brawlhalla was catching fire over the years. By 2020, Brawl was available on every single platform, including PC, Mac OS, PlayStation, Xbox, Nintendo Switch, Android, and iOS. And it was free to play, meaning it had more accessibility than any other platform fighter. And that accessibility has paid its dividends, as by April 2022, it had reportedly reached over 80 million players in total. And to think that Brawlhalla did all this without winning any major awards, only being nominated for Best Competitive Game for the 2020 Google Play Awards. Now, of course, being free to play was instrumental in eclipsing Smash's player base, and many players may have tried the game once or twice just to delete it shortly after, but this is still an impressive feat, especially for a game that started out as a small indie project. Both Brawlhalla and Multiversus received generally favorable reviews upon Brawlhalla's console release and Multiversus' release in open beta respectively, with Smash Bros being used as the measuring stick. Brawlhalla's live service has already been proven competent over the last 5 years, so it would be very reasonable to predict that it will stay relevant for at least the next few years. It has stood the test of time and is carving its own legacy, escaping the image of a Smash clone. But what about Multiversus? It started out hot, but can it overcome the shadow of Smash? How is the game performing half a year after release? Well, it seems that it's having a rough time on Steam, as its population has all but shriveled. In comparison, Brawlhalla has almost 11.5k players on average over the last 30 days, with its population slowly decreasing over the last year, but still strong. Both games are absent from Xbox's top 50 most popular games, but Multiversus is still the number 8 downloaded game from the PS Store for US and Canada, 10th for Europe. Brawlhalla was absent on this list. Meanwhile, Smash Bros. Ultimate continues to outsell not just every platform fighter, but all fighting games in general, selling over 700,000 units in the third quarter of 2022. So while both games seem to not be dead, at least, with Brawlhalla maintaining and Multiversus struggling, they still have a long way to go to catch up to Smash Bros, especially because Ultimate is such a phenomenon. But I don't think it's safe to count these two games out, due to them both having pretty good live services. Brawlhalla is constantly having new events, bringing in new crossovers, and we just got a new legend last month, with a new weapon. Multiversus has also brought a slew of new skins and characters in, with a few new maps, and recently added spectator mode, even though the game still lacks certain features, such as a free-for-all stock mode, a ranked mode, and a plethora of custom game options. Both games are constantly receiving updates and bug fixes. Their life cycles are far from done, and I think their live services will do enough to keep them at least moderately relevant, and that's if they don't receive a mega resurgence down the line. If these games were to leave a significant impact in the platform fighter genre, which they still have the potential to do, especially seeing as to how Multiversus just won Fighting Game of the Year at the 2022 Game Awards, what influence would their game mechanics have on later platform fighters? Well, it seems like triple jumping and wall clinging are becoming popular, and the dodging system present in both games might take precedence over the more traditional blocking in Smash. But what do these two games bring to the table gameplay-wise to distinguish themselves from Smash Bros. And other platform fighters? And will these mechanics gain popularity and forge a prominent legacy? Only time will tell the second part of that question, but I'm going to give my take on it by analyzing the first part for each game. Brawlhalla plays nothing like how it did at release, as it is much more fast-paced than probably any platform fighter not named Multiversus. It is much more competitive and less friendly to casual players than Smash, which doesn't have to be a bad thing at all. I mean, look at Tekken, I could barely figure out how to move my character in that game. But that might just be because I'm ass. As a matter of fact, I prefer Brawlhalla's gameplay over Smash Bros. Granted, I only played both 4 and Ultimate once, and was never any good in the first 3. But from my experience, and from watching clips on YouTube, Brawlhalla has much more combo string potential. This is due to dashing, chase dodging, gravity canceling, jump attacks, and frame data, including true combos that cannot be dodged. This makes Brawlhalla an electric watching experience. I've never played a game where you can do enemies so dirty. And the tag combos! Absolutely devastating!
Damn! I gotta give her credit for that. That's cold as hell.
The game rotates the same 13 weapons between each legend, which currently totals 56, but each legend's stats and SIGs make them feel unique and different to play, but still familiar enough to encourage the player to try out different legends with the same weapon. Speaking of the weapons, they all feel different from each other and satisfying in their own ways. Gauntlets, Scythe, Katars, and the new battle boots are definitely the most fancy and stylish, with Gauntlets and Scythe, Mordex, Sandstorm, being the fan favorites. Cannon is the perfect weapon to use if you want to absolutely melt your opponent within a matter of seconds. Greatsword, Lance, and Hammer are the heavy hitters. Bow, Orb, and Blasters torch enemies from a distance. Axe is slow and short-ranged, but hits hard from almost any angle. Spear has good range and handles, along with a nigh inescapable ground pound and recovery, and Sword is the middle ground of all the weapons. The game's physics allow for some unique interactions, specifically involving weapon throws, tag moves, and platforms. Hell, Unarmed is a beast in this game, so don't think you're defenseless just because you don't have a weapon. Before Brawlhalla, this kind of combo potential was reserved for traditional 2D fighters, but Brawl took the fun to another level. Now the stages aren't as interactable as Smash, and there aren't many pickup items, but the core gameplay makes up for all of that. Add to this that there is a cavalcade of game modes, and that the game is always being tweaked and balanced by the devs, and there is no way this game is getting lost in the shuffle as a Smash clone. Not to mention the art style of the game is fantastic, despite not being graphically intensive. This game will definitely have a fondly remembered place in gaming history, and if it already hasn't broken the mainstream ceiling, I believe that one day, it or a sequel will do so in the eyes of the majority of gamers. Hopefully this game gets a story mode that would help the characters stand out more. It'd be cool to see Bovar become a gaming icon on the level of Mario. In my opinion, if Brawlhalla had a baby with PlayStation All-Stars, Multiversus would be the result. It's harder to string combos together in MV than Brawl due to the different dodge mechanic, but the potential and length can match or exceed that of Brawlhalla, especially if you choose Batman. That man is nuts. And RIP Kevin Conroy, by the way. This is because of the 2 dodge limit in air and the amount of stun frames a player experiences as they accumulate damage. Batman's recovery on the Scooby-Doo stage should be a federal crime. I'm glad to see the game didn't release in as bad of a state as Nickelodeon All-Star Brawl did. The graphics and art style are great, even though you do get pop-in from the menus, and I'm playing on the PS5 by the way. And the cartoony aesthetic and animations make the game stand out. The gameplay pace depends on who you pick, but it only seems exceptionally slow with Iron Giant, and even he has some good combo potential. Superman walks pretty slow, but it's hard to feel that when you're dashing around. With that, he feels just about as fast as all the rest of the characters. And he's a bit broken.
Nope. Match point. Blue team.
You got it. Won't happen again.
Victory!
But that's a different subject. Like Brawlhalla, the game feels more competitive than casual, and is specifically designed for the 2v2 mode, where players can use unique signature moves to both offend opponents and defend teammates. For example, Rain Dog, the only player first game's original character, can use his powers to pull his teammates into safety, and Arya Stark can use her teleportation to power up her ally. You could also deck out each character with perks, and their effects stack and improve in 2v2 when your partner has the same perks. Each character is placed in a fighting class that determines how the character is meant to be played. Tanks have a lot of health and hit harder. Bruisers are the jack of all trades. Support characters are tailored towards helping out allies. Assassins have high damage output and mobility but low defense. And mages are passive pussies who got bored of spamming blasts on Dragon Ball Z and decided to come over to Multiversus to do the same bullshit. Mages use traps and projectiles to basically create an obstacle course for their enemies, making them hard to defend against. Also, each character is labeled as either horizontal, vertical, or hybrid, indicating which blast zones their moveset is tailored to. Navigating this information may feel complicated, but it makes for more than compelling gameplay, and is another entertaining watch, just like Brawlhalla.
Blue team.
I don't need kryptonite to deal with you.
Going somewhere, Adam? You're mine.
Victory!
Although I've yet to see any confidence-crippling tag combos like in Brawl. The game has great voice acting as well, with unique barbs being thrown between specific characters. The game even has a mature dialogue option for when the kids fall asleep.
Computer, log that one under very badass.
Rematch?
That was badass. Oh, you ain't even seen Psycho yet. Holy shit burgers.
I haven't been to a full week of school in years. I don't know shit.
This is also the only game in history to have both The Rock and LeBron James. Combining all these factors, if Multiversus was gonna die, I felt like it would have done so months ago, like Nick All-Star Brawl did before it. But its great fighting mechanics, iconic characters, and live service are keeping it alive. It's already surpassed the graveyard of platform games that have failed over the years, and this game has the potential to leave a lasting impact in the platform fighting genre. Intimation, the platform fighter genre, is riding a high in popularity off the back of the Smash Bros. Franchise, specifically Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. Brawlhalla was grinding for its own legacy even before Ultimate was released, and both it and Multiversus have capitalized off the growing market for platform fighters. I think as time goes by, these two franchises, due to their quality in gameplay, art style, and live service, will demand a bigger chunk of the pie, and will serve as formidable competition to the Smash Bros. Franchise. Brawlhalla has an extra factor helping spread its popularity and leave its mark, as its competitive scene is directly funded by Blue Mammoth and is the most active and consistent out of the three games. I think Brawl and MV have provided a unique enough spin on the platform fighter to justify their survival and success. And it is that success that will lead to a healthier, more successful climate for the platform fighter genre, and will hopefully inspire more quality, fun games. I'd like to see Rivals of Aether 2 capitalize on this momentum, so the internet darling franchise can increase from a cult following to a mainstream fanbase. But I predict that Multiversus and Brawlhalla will lead the charge for other platform fighters, as Smash has done for them. Fortnite, Warzone, and Apex are the three most popular BRs. Street Fighter, Tekken, and Mortal Kombat are the three most prominent legendary 2D fighters. And Super Smash Bros., Brawlhalla, and Multiversus will wave the banner for platform fighters in the future. And that is all I've got for today, folks. Thank you for checking out the video. Feel free to hit the subscribe, like, and notification buttons as I said earlier. Thank you for checking out the P34J channel. I will see you all next time.